The Dreamcast has had a vibrant variety of racing games in its first months. From the wild, over-the-top arcade excitement of Hydro Thunder, the mesmerizing midnight meditation of Tokyo Extreme Racer, to the dry, straightforward oval tracks of Kart Flag to Flag. None got my blood boiling quite like Ubisoft's Monaco Grand Prix, which was so unforgivingly committed to an earnest presentation of what it means to drive a Formula One car that it became an agonizing experience, especially matched with an even more ruthless checkpoint clock that made it so finishing a race was basically impossible, at least for me. I did not anticipate Revolt, a game where you race tiny, radio-controlled cars around various colorful tracks, bringing the trauma of playing Monaco Grand Prix back to my mind. Revolt was developed by Acclaimed Studios London, and dropped on the PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and PC in August of 1999, eventually trickling out to the Dreamcast a week before Christmas. You control any of a series of accurately recreated RC cars, from little roadsters like the Dust Mite or the Fat Slug, to sturdier trucks like the Big Volt. And you drive them on a vivid variety of detailed tracks like suburban neighborhoods, supermarkets, construction sites, museums, as well as, the Titanic? Anyway, the game has the expected modes: single races, championships, time trials, as well as a stunt arena, battle tag, and clockwork carnage. Revolt visually appears like a very cartoony and arcadey experience, but secretly maintains a stringent relationship to physical authenticity. The cars cohere to a genuine sense of realism when it comes to navigating around the spaces, making tight turns and hitting bumps and other impediments the way an actual remote-controlled car would if you were driving it around the neighborhood. As a kid, no product was advertised more viscerally or impressively than RC cars. Every commercial I saw as a child of the mid-90s for these little vehicles just made them look like the coolest, most badass thing on Earth. And other than Mortal Kombat 3 for the Super Nintendo, there was maybe nothing for Christmas in second grade I requested more. Once I got one, it was cool, but also it was perpetually getting stuck on little rocks, or flipping over when it traversed the curb. And after a short time, it started to feel like more trouble than it was worth for it to safely navigate the neighborhood. Theoretically, Revolt's strict adherence to physics is fun and cool and silly, but actually playing the races becomes a realistically trying experience. I love the attention to detail in the tracks themselves, and the neighborhood track is full of charming little touches that make it feel like an honest, real-to-life experience in ways that are novel. They feel lived in and clever, and multiple times I come around corners and go, that's cute. The issue is, just like in real life, that's cute very quickly and frequently gives way to, hell, not again, as the game commits wholeheartedly to the very genuine and specific realism of trying to drive a small, remote-controlled car at high speeds around turns and jumps. The cars will flip on their backs if you breathe on the controller wrong, and it's really hard to get in a rhythm when the cars feel so touchy and fragile, and when the courses are designed so ruthlessly. The arrows revealing a direction a split second before turning into it, not knowing what's around the next corner, is a tough experience all around. And just like real life, I began to find myself feeling like it wasn't worth the trouble. As far as those alternate and multiplayer modes, the stunt arena also felt limited by authenticity. No matter what car I chose, I struggled to get up enough speed or proper aim to fulfill the tasks it requested, which are mostly just obtaining a list of 20 stars in different locations. I dragged myself through this feature enough to get the stars, which unlocked the Clockwork Carnage mode, which is basically just a regular race, but with even smaller little wind-up cars, which is, if nothing else, a wacky f***ing happening. Just absolute random chaos with such a large amount of cars just blasting into each other and shooting off recklessly. It wasn't like compelling competition or anything, but it felt like enough of a difference that it was the reckless silliness I was hoping for when I popped this game in. One thing I read a lot from critics in regards to Hydro Thunder and Sega Rally Championship 2, the best and most acclaimed racing games on the system thus far, was that their responsive controls were able to thread an incredible needle between realistic presentation and fun, responsive handling, to create a facsimile of the idea of how a speedboat or a rally car might feel from a racing standpoint, and not necessarily just a one-to-one recreation of what it would actually be. Revolt has so much to like visually, stylistically, from a design standpoint, and has a passionate cult fanbase that still exists today. But the experience is too faithful a recreation for me, and the learning curve on the actual races is so high that what could feel enlivening instead drew stultifying frustration. And ultimately, this is not one I anticipate returning to for casual fun. Next time, maybe what these other car games are really missing is a big f***ing bazooka.